Today is Friday, October 10th. We'll tell you the latest on the breakthrough in the Middle East, from the expected timeline to the role of U.S. troops heading to Israel. Also, why a judge blocked troops from deploying to Chicago, and another high-profile figure faces federal charges. Plus, a new investigation into Tesla's self-driving mode, a rival Super Bowl halftime show meant to take on Bad Bunny, and the story of two animals with a very unlikely friendship. Those stories and even more news to know coming up. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. Israel's government has now formally approved the ceasefire and hostage release deal that is said to be phase one of President Trump's plan, and it paves the way for the war in Gaza to end. Trump called it a momentous breakthrough, and he now says he'll travel to the Middle East this weekend for a signing ceremony. Remember, under the plan, Israel is expected to begin pulling back troops, leaving them in control of just over half of Gaza, while Hamas has 72 hours to return all remaining hostages. Israel has said there's about 20 still living, and in return, Israel will release nearly 2,000 Palestinian prisoners. President Trump says the exchange would likely happen Monday or Tuesday. And it's not just President Trump heading to the region. U.S. officials say 200 American troops will deploy to Israel to help coordinate and monitor the various aspects of this deal. The United Nations also said it's prepping to rush desperately needed aid into Gaza. Many in Israel and Gaza are finally hopeful. But some key questions remain, including who will govern Gaza long-term and whether Hamas will actually disarm, all part of Trump's original demands. For now, it seems those are issues left for future negotiations. New York Attorney General Letitia James has been indicted, marking the second prominent Trump critic to face federal charges in recent weeks. A grand jury in Virginia charged James with bank fraud and making false statements to a financial institution. Prosecutors say she misrepresented how a Virginia home was used, claiming it was a second home to get a better mortgage rate when she allegedly rented it out instead. The acting U.S. attorney in Virginia called it a tremendous breach of public trust. But James called the charges baseless, saying this is part of President Trump's continued weaponization of the justice system. Her lawyer says the case is driven by revenge, noting James has long been a political target since she sued Trump and his company for fraud back in 2022. James is expected to enter a plea in the coming days as the case moves through federal court. A federal judge has blocked the Trump administration from deploying National Guard troops to the Chicago area for at least 2 weeks. About 300 Illinois National Guard troops and 200 from Texas had already been activated before the ruling, though it's not clear yet whether troops already in the state will be affected. Federal lawmakers had argued the troops were needed to protect immigration facilities and personnel during protests, but the judge said there was no credible evidence of a rebellion or widespread danger in Illinois. She added that the Justice Department's account was simply unreliable and that National Guard troops would only add fuel to the fire, though she acknowledged the case would likely be appealed. The case is one of two that played out yesterday, testing the limits of presidential power to deploy troops on U.S. soil. The other hearing was over whether Trump can send troops into Portland, Oregon, but an appeals court panel has not made a decision yet. Meanwhile, in Memphis, Tennessee, troops are expected to begin patrols today. Unlike in Illinois, Tennessee's Republican governor has backed the president's crackdown on crime in Democratic-led cities. Stay tuned. The government shutdown is now pretty much guaranteed to stretch into next week. Senators rejected dueling funding bills yesterday for the 7th time and then left town. The Senate won't return until Tuesday, meaning federal workers, military personnel, and contractors will keep going without pay through the long weekend. The stalemate has led to some emotional moments, too, including an exchange on C-SPAN between House Speaker Mike Johnson and a Republican military mom. She begged him to pass a standalone bill to pay troops during the shutdown, saying if they miss a paycheck, she won't be able to afford her children's medications and they could die. Johnson said her story is the kind of thing that keeps him up at night, but again blamed Democrats for blocking a GOP funding bill. The Trump administration is even airing videos at airports nationwide blaming Democrats for this shutdown. But Democrats say they're standing firm on extending healthcare subsidies that are set to expire, arguing that without them, millions of Americans could see their insurance costs skyrocket. Meanwhile, air traffic controller staffing issues continue to cause delays at major airports. The IRS has furloughed nearly half of its workforce just days before the October 15th extension filing deadline. And nonprofits, small businesses, and families across the country are now speaking out about how they're feeling the impacts. For now, though, lawmakers on both sides are digging in with no sign of a breakthrough anytime soon. A week of extreme weather is hitting both sides of the country. The Southwest is facing significant risks of heavy rainfall and flash flooding from Tropical Storm Priscilla and another storm system that's set to move in over the weekend. The National Weather Service has issued flood watches across Arizona, including Phoenix and Flagstaff, and for parts of Utah, Nevada, California, and Colorado. Meanwhile, on the other side of the country, a nor'easter is expected to strengthen tonight into the weekend, bringing heavy rain, strong winds, and coastal flooding from Florida through New England. And even western Alaska is bracing for trouble, where another storm is forecast to bring coastal flooding by Sunday. We have more news for you still coming up, but first, a quick break for our sponsor. Cooler days call for layers that last, and for me, that means Quince. They're my go-to for high-quality, timeless pieces that feel amazing, look polished, and don't cost a fortune. I'm back to wearing my favorite wool sweater from Quince. It's still as soft and stylish as the day I bought it, and I've been eyeing their wool coats. They look designer level, but cost a fraction of the price. And I'm still wearing a delicate gold diamond bracelet from Quince every day. It's perfect for all seasons. So how is it affordable? Quince partners directly with top-tier ethical factories and cuts out the middlemen, which means you and I get luxury quality pieces at half the price of similar brands. From $50 Mongolian cashmere to washable silk tops and premium denim that actually fits, everything feels smart, stylish, and effortless. It's one of those rare brands where every piece feels like a win, whether it's your everyday uniform or something special for the weekend. So find your fall staples at Quince. Go to quince.com/newsworthy for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada, too. That's QUINCE.com/newsworthy to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/newsworthy. Now back to the news. Well, here's your reminder that Monday is a federal holiday, so you may have a long weekend coming up. Although depending on where you live, it's commemorated differently. Columbus Day has been a federal holiday for more than a century, marking Christopher Columbus's first voyage to America in 1492. But in recent years, some states and cities have begun celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day instead, or alongside it, to honor Native communities. As you know, Indigenous peoples and their ancestors have been living on the land now known as North America for thousands of years before the first European explorers arrived. So some argue Columbus represents mass genocide and white supremacy. Other groups, though, including some Italian Americans, say Columbus Day is a way to celebrate their cultural and ethnic heritage. Former President Biden recognized both holidays back in 2021. But this year, President Trump signed a new proclamation saying, "We're calling it Columbus Day." You can expect government offices, including the post office, to be closed on Monday, along with most banks, libraries, and at least some workplaces and schools. Dominion Voting Systems, the voting machines company falsely accused of rigging the 2020 election, has been sold, and it's now called Liberty Vote. The new owner is a former Republican election director from Missouri and the founder of the election software company No Inc., used in more than a third of U.S. states. The new owner says his goal is to restore public trust in U.S. elections by focusing on paper-based systems and transparency. He described the new company as 100% American-owned and says it will rebuild or retire Dominion's existing machines ahead of next year's midterms. The move comes after years of damage to Dominion's reputation following false fraud claims by President Trump and his allies. Dominion went on to win multi-million-dollar defamation settlements against Fox News, Newsmax, Rudy Giuliani, and more. The company's paper ballot emphasis does mirror Trump's push to move away from electronic voting, a push that election officials warn would delay results without improving security. Its first real test of trust, though, will come soon when its machines are expected to help count votes in next year's midterms. There's a new investigation into Tesla's full self-driving software. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says it's received 58 reports, including 14 crashes and 23 injuries, linked to Tesla vehicles using the system. Even though it's called full self-driving, it still requires human supervision. Federal officials say some drivers reported their cars drove through red lights or turned the wrong way into oncoming traffic. So now there's a preliminary evaluation, the first step toward a possible recall if the agency finds a safety risk. The probe comes the same week Tesla released a new version of the software. And so far, Tesla has not publicly commented on this investigation. Turning Point USA says it's planning to host its own all-American halftime show during the Super Bowl, a direct counter to the planned performance by Puerto Rican superstar Bad Bunny. Remember, Turning Point is the conservative youth group Charlie Kirk co-founded and led before his assassination. The conservative group says their show will celebrate faith, family, and freedom during the big game on February 8th. Details on performers and where it will air have not yet been released. But the move comes during right-wing outrage over the NFL's choice of Bad Bunny, who has been critical of U.S. immigration policies and said he skipped tour dates in the mainland U.S. out of concern over ICE raids. Turning Point's event page even asked fans to vote on their favorite music genre, with options like country, rock, hip-hop, and anything in English. Political counter-programming like this is rare during the Super Bowl, which has traditionally seen lighter competition like the Puppy Bowl. Well, that's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Feel Good Friday, when we bring you one extra feel-good or positive news story before the weekend. But first, a quick break to thank our sponsor. If you've ever taken fish oil, you probably know about the aftertaste, but you might not know that there's another option. Fatty 15 is a clean, vegan, and science-backed alternative that supports longevity at the cellular level. It's powered by C15, the first essential fatty acid discovered in more than 90 years, and it's changing what's known about healthy aging. Clinical research has linked C15 to stronger cellular membranes and better metabolic function. It works by strengthening your cells from the inside out, supporting heart, liver, and brain function, while helping you feel more energized, rested, and focused. What I love is how simple it is. One small, sustainably made capsule each day in a beautiful glass jar with refills arriving right to your door. It's become one of those effortless habits that I really don't mind because I know it's doing something meaningful for my health long term. And unlike fish oil, it actually tastes like nothing. Fatty 15 is on a mission to optimize your C15 levels to help you live healthier longer. You can get an additional 15% off their 90-day subscription starter kit by going to fatty15.com/newsworthy and using the code newsworthy at checkout. Now back to Feel Good Friday. A dog and a crow in Portland, Oregon have formed an unlikely friendship that looks straight out of a Disney movie. Autumn Buck says her border collie, Miko, struck up a bond with an injured wild crow that showed up in her yard earlier this year. She named the crow Russell, after actor Russell Crowe, and the two quickly became inseparable. They play fetch, take naps side by side, and even chat through the glass door, with Russell pecking when it's time for Miko to come out and play. She and her husband had helped nurse Russell back to health after he fell from his nest. Once he learned to fly, he started coming and going freely and now visits daily to hang out with his best friend. Buck says watching their friendship has been a source of joy, calling it a lesson in compassion and coexistence, proving that everybody can get along, even if you're completely different. Well, thank you so much for listening today. We'll be back tomorrow with our special edition Saturday episode about the impact of our phones on our brains and what we can actually do about it. Then note that we will not have a new episode out on Monday due to the federal holiday, but we'll catch you up on all the news you may have missed on Tuesday. For now, have a great weekend.